Good day and welcome to tonight's podcast from the Gabba City Points review of the fifth and final day of the final test match. And I'm joined by Declan Hooper, boss of Wickets and Pickets. My name's Phil Dillon, and Declan, I've got just one word. Wow.
What a day. What a test. What a series. A fitting finale to a incredible series. When we went to bed last night, we were thinking that we were going to get a day of rain and a ball draw today. How wrong were we?
Absolutely. Well, I went to sleep. It was pouring with rain where I was in Wynnum, and it poured for rain from the moment we left the Gabba until I went to bed, and it probably rained a little bit longer. So that was at least 6 hours. Apparently 120 mils of rain. And then we woke up to a beautiful day. The players were out on the field when I got here to the Gabba, and I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. We're going to get a final day that this test series deserves. And what a day. Absolutely bloody incredible.
Well, let's start from the start then, hey? I mean, there's so much to go through that it could be here all night. But let's start from the start. So, early doors, Rohit Sharma goes. Cometh the moment, cometh the man. In comes Pujara, Gill as well, batting there. What partnership they struck up this morning?
Oh, it was magnificent. You had the Rock at one end and the young rock star at the other.
Yeah.
And it was the perfect partnership for that stage of the innings, because Shubman Gill was taking the bowling on, and Pujara was taking it on the body. They worked out on Fox Sports today that he got hit somewhere, including his head twice, 10 times during his innings of 56 off however many balls it was. And he almost racked up 1,000 balls. He might have even got there in this series, which is incredible for a test player. They did not know how to bowl to him other than try and hurt him, and he withstood everything. And people have said that they're not a courageous team, this Indian. By God, how they prove people wrong. It's been one thing after another, and they bounced back from everything that's been thrown at them. And Pujara was magnificent today. Shubman Gill as well for that innings of 91. It's just a shame that he didn't quite get to his 100, because he deserved some
of the shots
his 100.
Some of the shots he was playing were just out of this world. For up and coming in the test arena, which he is, which a lot of this team is. Let's be honest. Some of the shots he was playing were just incredible too. Supposedly the best bowling attack in the world.
Yeah, he's 21 years old. He's played a handful of test matches. He didn't start in the series because they preferred Prithvi Shaw to him. I don't know how that happened, to be quite honest, but there was talk that he was going to be this superstar coming through, the next Virendra Sehwag, the next Virat Kohli, can we suggest? I mean, he's been fantastic. He's got 250s. He deserved 100 today, but he set it up for India. Set the victory up today by attacking the Australian bowling, and at one stage they didn't know how to bowl it, and it was a sustained bowling, short pitch bowling, and he took it on, and he won.
Moving on to that little period after lunch, I do think, looking back on it, Australia's tactics were all wrong. It looked very comfortable in the short ball, and then it was almost like they showed their hands and they didn't know what else to come up with.
Yeah.
I mean, it was for a good sustained 10 overs there, where they just both got peppered with short balls, which, I mean, is great when it works, but it didn't work in Sydney, and it hasn't worked again today. I do think that the tactics were wrong.
I think you're right. If you looked at the pitch, it was a day 5 pitch. There were cracks, big cracks, just outside the right-hander's off stump. So why are they bowling line and length and trying to let's, for want of a better word, bore the batsman out? If you bowl tight and you bowl something that they can't hit, then they're gonna try and manufacture a way of trying to hit you. If you tie them down, they're going to get frustrated. This day and age, test players are not what they used to be, apart from Pujara. They can't necessarily bat for a very long time like Pujara does. So because of the IPL, because of the way that the one-day game's gone. So if you test their patience, you will get something. And for Tim Paine, whether it was him or whether it was the bowlers suggested what they did, I don't understand why Pat Cummins bowling tight lines. When we pitch it up, he got wickets. When Josh Hadrian picked it up in the first innings, he got wickets.
I mean, bringing on Nathan Lyon as well. Nathan Lyon made the way to the 400 test wickets in his 100th test match. Weighed heavy on him. He didn't offer a lot with the ball. I mean, he got a little bit of turn towards the end, but nothing that the Indian batsman seemed that worried about.
To be fair, Nathan Lyon wasn't at his best in this, and he hasn't been at the best in this series. He's only got 9 wickets in the whole series, which is not un-Nathan Lyon like, to be honest. I mean, he is, the best spinner in the world at the moment, or off spinner anyway.
Ravi Ashwin might have something to say about that.
Yeah, Ravi Ashwin might have to say, but on wickets alone, he's the best. And his 100th Test match, maybe the pressure was there. Maybe the talk of him getting it, and he was only 4 wickets away on a wicket that was more than good enough for an on-form Nathan Lyon. He should have really spun Australia to that game today, with the backing of supposedly the best bowling attack in the world. But the Indians stood firm, so credit to India, to be fair.
I mean, even up until the last session, we were saying that it was going to be a draw, didn't we? We were sitting there going, this is going to piddle out into a draw. But credit to India, credit to the batsman, credit to Rishabh Pant. They went for it, and they got their just rewards in the end.
The key was, I think, and this goes to a lot to what the IPL has done for Indian cricket and cricket in general. The key was to have wickets in hand when they went into the last 10 overs and a manageable target. And when they got it to the last 10 overs, I think they wanted, I don't know, it was like 63 or something. So it was just over a run a ball. So it's more than manageable. So then they got down to the last 5 overs and they wanted 30 odd, 40 odd. So that's more than manageable for 2 guys. At that time, Washington Sundar joined Pant at the crease, and they're 2 experienced IPL players, not necessarily experienced Test players, but at that stage, it turned basically into a one-day game. And that's how they got on top. They were turning 1s into 2s. They were playing unorthodox shots. I mean, he lap sweeps Nathan Lyon for 4. He was playing into gaps which they were trying to fill and they couldn't because he was playing on unorthodox. And the same with Sundar. And he was brave enough to take Nathan Lyon on a pitch that showed cracks, hit him over the top. Fair play. Rishabh Pant deserves lots of credit for today, and the Indians deserve a lot of credit for everything they've done in this series. It's one of the best series I've seen, and one of the best Test matches I've seen. It's up there with Headingley 2019, Ben Stokes, and Edgbaston 2005 when Australia just fell short by 2 runs with Brett Lee. One of the best Test matches of all time. And Australia had a lot to do with that as well.
Going on to that, I do think Tim Paine will probably cop a lot of pelters for this Test match and for this Test series. And some of them rightly so. However, you can't say he didn't go for it, because even up until 5-6 overs to go, he still had an aggressive field. And that was something we were saying yesterday, was that he wasn't aggressive at the right moments. I didn't today. However, in saying that, I mean, there was a stumping opportunity which was missed for Pant, which could have turned the game on its head. So I don't think he'll be looking back on this series with any kind of fondness, and most of the Australian team won't be either.
Yeah.
But moving on to that, who stood out for you in this Test series?
Well, actually, I thought you might ask me that, so I made a few notes. To be fair, Australian weren't at their best.
Yep.
But there was one man who stood out, and he actually got rewarded with that. It was Pat Cummins, who's made man of the series. 21 wickets. I think he was at 20. He never bowls badly. He's always like your go-to man. Anytime you ask him to come on and bowl in a way that, he asked him to bowl short, he asked him to bowl this and aggressively, he bowled aggressively to Pujara. But he gets wickets almost as soon as he comes on. I think he got a wicket in his first over like every time he came on today, and he ended up with 4 wickets for just over 40 runs. So without Pat Cummins today, it could have been even worse for Australia. Obviously, Steve Smith getting runs eventually after a slow start, and Marnus Labuschagne, those two have done what they do, but they haven't. Not excelled. Don't forget, we're talking about Steve Smith getting 100 against India's 4th ranked seam attack in Sydney.
I do think you say that, but I mean, India's 4th ranked attack now looks a lot better than their 1st ranked attack.
Yeah.
Judging on the balance.
Yeah.
I mean, it was their supposedly best team was playing Adelaide.
Yeah.
And got rolled.
Yeah.
So I think this team here is gonna push the guys that were playing in Adelaide in upcoming series in England or wherever. I think credit needs to go to these the depth of their team, and I don't think you can say the team that was out there today is now the 4th strength team.
Absolutely not.
Or will be in the future, because a lot of these guys have now cemented their spot in the Indian cricket team.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's where I was going on to my next choice for an India. To be fair, most of my choices of who stood out are Indians, and the first one was Mohammad Siraj. I mean, he was on a hiding to nothing coming in after Mohammad Shami went home, broke his arm, and Umesh Yadav went home. And of course, unfortunately for him, he also lost his father like 2 weeks ago. But he got 5 for in this Test match. He stood out magnificently in Sydney.
And not to mention, he copped whether it was racist or not, we don't know, but copped a barrage of abuse nevertheless in the Sydney Test, and still managed to pick himself up. And that's a credit to him personally and professionally on a level.
Personally, I would now, even without Mohammad Shami being fully fit, I would put him above him in the ranks of Indian bowlers. So he would probably get into India's best bowling attack alongside Bumrah and Ishant Sharma. I think those three plus Ravi Ashwin and Jadeja, when he's fit, would be India's attack. I think Siraj definitely deserves a chance. And then you've got Shubman Gill, who's been magnificent and a star in the making, I think. He's not technically perfect. He's more like a Steve Smith with hand-eye coordination, doesn't use his feet that much, but his hand-eye coordination off the back foot is absolutely unbelievable. And he's brave. He's a very brave young fella.
I think he fits the mould of what an IPL player now looks like, who's a three formats player who is brave and doesn't have conventional, in the formal sense of the word, technique.
Yeah, they got no fear, these blokes.
No.
Because they're used to playing in the IPL. I mean, obviously not this year because there's no crowds, and they played in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. But normally they're playing in front of crowds of 100,000. And he would have been, when he first started in the IPL, he would have only been 18, 19.
Yeah.
He's only 21 now. And he's already played a handful of Test matches and become like India's go-to opener alongside Rohit Sharma. You'd say he's up there as a star man for India, and another one is Washington Sundar. I mean, it'd be interesting to see when India takes on England at home, when Virat Kohli will be back. You'd expect Ravi Jadeja to be back after his broken thumb. Ishant Sharma might come back as well because he's got a muscle injury. Would it be interesting to see how many of these guys who came in keep their place because I mean they won a Test series in Australia for Christ's sake. I mean, what more can they ask of these blokes?
Up until 3 years ago, India never won a Test series.
Yeah, exactly.
Just touching on that Washington Sundar point, how impressive was he in this Test match? I mean, he comes in for his debut, takes 3 for in the first innings, comes out and hits a crucial in the watch, a crucial 50 in the first innings. Well, does his part in the second innings, takes a wicket and bowls well. And then in the second innings batting, it's crucial. Hits a quick fire 20, but is absolutely crucial down the other end for Rishabh Pant.
Yeah.
It's incredible, really. Like his Test match today, if he continues the form that he showed in this Test match, he'll end up being a stalwart of the Indian attack.
Yeah, so he should. I mean, Ravi Ashwin is coming towards the end of his career. Is at the end of his career rather than the start. So you and Washington Sundar's more than a handy off spinner. He's not like somebody you throw the ball to like Marnus Labuschagne. He's not like that. He's a proper off spinner who can cause problems to everyone. The ball he bowled Green in the first innings was an absolute corker.
Well, I mean, his first Test wicket, Steve Smith.
Smith doesn't get better than that, does he?
Not a bad first Test wicket. Is it?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's like he came in today, for example. They just lost Agarwal, and everybody thought, oh shit, are they going to shut up shop? Is that it for India? If they shut up shop, then they could get a chance of getting edges and stuff like that. But no, he came out with the intention to carry on. He smacked Nathan Lyon over his head for a 6 or a 4, I think. So he could have easily just decided that I'm not going for this. I'm too nervous, blah blah blah. But the confidence of youth. And the confidence of Mr. Pant up the other end, and probably the confidence of Rahane as a skipper, said, "Mate, we've got nothing to lose. We might as well just go for it and go." And they went for it, and fair play to them. It was fantastic.
I mean, there was a great atmosphere in the Gabba today, especially. I think it was great that they obviously couldn't just throw open the doors, but there was a crowd that came in, mostly Indian. It has to be said, but I mean that created a great atmosphere and a great colour for that run chase.
Yeah.
And I bet there'll be a lot of Indians skipping around Brisbane tonight, won't there?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we heard a figure today that when India were going for that chase, was it 60 million people had tuned into Indian TV to watch that chase? That's incredible. This goes to show what cricket means to that subcontinent. And it's just a shame that COVID denied this Test match a full Gabba, because I'm sure on any other day there would have been 12,000 on that final day. Even with a gold coin donation, whatever it was, there was money going towards November, I think it was.
Especially getting towards the end now.
Yeah, but for every upside, I suppose there's a downside, and the downside for Australia was the performance of a few key players, and disappointed with Mitchell Starc.
So as I said, I think Mitchell Starc, he was just wayward today. Well, and not just today. For most of the Test series, he's been relatively wayward, and I wonder if he's going through a bad spell, and he does seem like one of them confidence players.
He is, I think so.
Well, because when he's on top, he is unplayable.
Yeah, absolutely.
However, he is very playable at the moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
I was disappointed with him. As we said, I don't want to lump too much onto Tim Paine. However, I think there'll be a lot of Australian supporters and a lot of the Australian hierarchy that will be somewhat disappointed with Tim Paine's captaincy over the Test series, not least some of the shit that he was carrying on with in the Sydney Test, saying to Ravi Ashwin he can't wait to get him up to the Gabba. I mean, it makes who look like a dickhead now, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. That sort of falls back on him now, and it's like, well, okay. Ravi Ashwin wasn't even there, obviously, but he didn't know that at the time. But It's basically saying they can't wait to get the Indians up there because there was talk that the Indians were scared of going to the Gabba. There was all this talk about them not wanting to go in quarantine and wanting to stay in Sydney because, and people saying that they were cowards because they were afraid of the bouncy Gabba pitch. That's going to fall on deaf ears now. The Indians don't give a shit about that, to be honest.
Going back to the Tim Payne point, there will be question marks, as there always is when there's a lost series in Australia. Me personally, I think he's done enough to, keep the spot for now. Go to South Africa and see how they go there. However, I think the importance of this South Africa tour, if it goes ahead, which I'm be astonished if it doesn't go ahead now.
Me too. They need to win to go to that final in the championship, Test Championship.
The pressure will really be on because I think if he has a poor South Africa tour as well, then, God, who knows? I mean, look, without pointing the finger too much, what we can judge at the end of the day is the decisions he's made. And the decisions he's made over this Test series have essentially bitten Australia in the arse on the long term, haven't they? I mean, the decisions he made in Melbourne led to India winning. The decisions he made in Sydney, especially on the last day, led to Australia supposedly walking that test to then drawing it unexpectedly. And the decisions he made in this test have been, while I don't want to lump on it too much, as I say, I think the decisions he's made today were a factor in Australia losing.
I mean, we're not suggesting for 1 minute that captain in Australia is an easy job because obviously it's not. Apart from being Prime Minister, it's the biggest job in Australia. It's actually probably bigger than being Prime Minister.
I mean, look, especially at the moment.
Yeah, especially at the moment. I mean, when it's nobody. I mean, Tim Payne will not want to be there as the first captain to lose a Test match at the Gabba since 1988. That record has been broken now, and they can't keep saying that the Gabba is a fortress. And other sides now coming to Australia, you'll see that you can win at the Gabba.
I mean, there's been talk for years that Brisbane shouldn't have the Gabba Test because of crowd numbers and whatever else, and it should go to Perth with the new stadium there. I mean, them voices will be amplified now because before this, the answer to that was, well, we haven't lost to the Gabba since 1988. And that was the first answer anyone say when you talk about taking the test off Brisbane. That's gone now. Australia lost the test in 2021 at the Gabba. So then choruses of people are going to get louder now as well.
Yeah, and my friends in WA all say, why the bloody hell haven't we got a Test match? We've got one of the best stadiums in the country. We've got 60,000 people that can go in there because of COVID. It's hard to hit WA. Imagine 60,000 people against the Indians today and how much that would have affected the Indians compared to 5,000 at the Gabba. I'm not having to go at Brisbane people for not going there because obviously it's a work day, it's the last day, there was threat of rain. So, but I reckon there would have been more people at the Wacker today, and there would have been the majority of them would have been cheering on Australia. So that might have been a little bit more different. And I can't see why Perth didn't get to this match anyway.
Well, I think so. Originally, they were meant to get the Afghanistan test.
Obviously.
Well, I mean, look, without being disrespectful to Afghanistan, it's not India with the deciding match, is it?
No.
So them questions will be asked. I mean, look, obviously, you can probably take this loss in somewhat isolation because of the circumstances and everything else. However, I mean, as we said, the choruses will be getting louder now.
Yeah, but don't forget this is a Test match in Brisbane in January.
Yeah.
And the chances of rain affecting the Test match, which it has for the last 2 days, previous 2 days before today, a Test match in Brisbane in January is not good business because the chances are of storms. Whereas in Perth, you could guarantee that there'd be almost dry for the whole of January. So why wouldn't you put a test match in Perth in January? Why would you put one in Brisbane? I'm not saying don't go to the Gabba, far from it. I'm saying because history shows it that Australia have done brilliantly at the Gabba, and there's no doubt that they will in the future as well because it plays into their hands. But in this instance, maybe Perth should have been got the gig. Having said that, I mean that Gabba wicket, you've got to give credit to the groundsman for producing something that lasted that long. We're still doing something for the bowlers today. Not quite enough for Australia's point of view, but it was still, if they bowled well enough, they'd have got the job done. Unfortunately, they didn't bowl as well as they could, and India batted out of their skins, and they deserve what they got. It's still a great cricket wicket. I mean, we lost like 2 hours at the end of the third and fourth days play, but we virtually got 5 days of fantastic Test match cricket.
Well, and that goes on to credit to all the ground staff, really. I mean, when we left the ground last night, it was cats and dogs, and it has been all of last night in Brisbane was like thumping down with rain. We get to the Gabba this morning. The outfield's quick. The wicket's great. It looks like it's been untouched. And that the credit all has to go to the ground staff for that.
For sure. 2021 has kicked off with a fantastic Test match in cricket. Let's hope India and England can put on something similar when they get together, and then when Australia go to South Africa, we can get a decent Test match series there as well. Look, Test cricket, go for it. Let's hope we get a good.
And we'll be covering it all.
Yeah.
Cheers.